Hello, everyone. This is Rick, and I'd like to share some thoughts about my second article that was published this week called "Please Be Kind When You Invite Us to Church on Easter." It was published on April 5th, 2023 by Baptist News Global. And so originally this was going to be a longer analysis piece where I talked about the perspectives of those who are invited to the Easter services, as well as how evangelicals view them. And we decided to shorten it up and edit it down into more of an opinion piece that asked for kindness toward ex-evangelicals when inviting them to Easter services. And so in this video, what I thought I would do is kind of bring in some of what I talked about in my original longer analysis version of the article, and in contrasting how evangelicals view these potential visitors with what they need from them. And so originally, there are a lot of different ways people talk about people who come to Easter services. You often hear of these people, they come to Christmas and Easter, and it's like the two times a year that they come to church. And so in a lot of churches, they actually have nicknames for these people. And so I've seen some where they're called Christmas poinsettias, or Easter lilies, or cultural Christians, or submarine Christians, because they only come up, twice a year, or Christians, or Creasters. And so these are terms that some evangelicals toss around to describe these visitors that they're asking to come to church. And so I think that many of us, when we hear those things, we can kind of see the negative connotations involved there, the kind of looking down your nose at these people. And so in the article, what I did was I talked about how ex-evangelicals pick up on these things, and I share some stories about specific ways that evangelical churches have harmed people, and the harm that ex-evangelicals feel in their bodies. And so while there may be some people who come to church on Easter without the wounds, it's more of a cultural event for them. There are a lot of us who are invited, and it's like inviting us into a celebration of the very theology that harmed us. And so I shared a lot of stories, specific ways and examples that this harm has been caused in evangelicalism today. But I think it also shows up in the narratives that evangelical churches have in their preaching and in their worship lyrics. So, for example, this one pastor said that these visitors are doubters, disillusioned, distrustful, disappointed, discouraged, desperate, which he defined as broken, suicidal, and friendless. And also then he said dying. And so, like, these are very negative connotations, very negative word associations with the people they're trying to invite. And one thing to keep in mind is that evangelical worship lyrics, they often contrast what evangelicals think they used to be with who they are now. And while that may feel hopeful to evangelicals, what it's actually doing is it's using evangelicals past to set up the way they view their neighbors present. The way they view their past is how they view their neighbors present. And so their neighbors are blind, lost, hopeless, slaves, dead, worthy of being violently punished forever. This is how they view their neighbors. And yet, while singing about hope and life may feel really good and freeing to an evangelical, they're really promoting these messages about their neighbors that are pretty dark. And then on Easter Sunday, it may feel like the celebration of hope, but it's really all of these messages, these atonement theories and justice theories, it's like all of those jacked up on ecstasy. And so for those of us who have been harmed by these messages, we don't want to stick our face into a building of people that are just wound up to celebrate these things in an even more excited way. On the other hand, what the on Easter Sunday, 25%, it's estimated, of a church's visitors for the year will come on Easter Sunday, but only 1 out of 10 of them will return. And what a lot of people don't realize is that a lot of pastors' jobs depend on their church growing in certain numbers and by certain numbers of people being saved. And so there's a lot of pressure on churches, especially after COVID, to take advantage of that Easter Sunday service and to take advantage and maximize the number of people there, because it's a numbers game. 1 in 10 will return. You got to get more people to come and visit in order to get more people to return. And your job could be on the line in a lot of cases. So there's a lot of pressure. And so basically what I just want to encourage people with this article is that when you approach someone to invite them to Easter, be aware of the wounds that they may have and hold, but also be aware of the insecurities that you or your church may have when and how the Easter service may be used to cover some of these insecurities, rather than actually dealing with some of the insecurities that you have.